I died. And I accidentally took my boss down with me. On the road to the afterlife, he spent the entire time cursing me out. It wasn't until the very moment before reincarnation, when he finally ran out of breath, that we made peace. I said goodbye. He told me, "Thank you for everything, but let's never see each other again." Little did we know, a second after rebirth, we'd cross paths again. I didn't mean to die, and I certainly didn't mean to drag someone else into the grave. It happened during a corporate team building trip. I slipped while hiking and instinctively grabbed the person next to me. Unfortunately, that person happened to be my boss. We plummeted off the cliff together, meeting a rather gruesome end. Because I got caught on a branch mid-fall, my boss hit the ground first. I landed right on top of him, breaking several more of his ribs. Not that it mattered much at that point. In his final second, his eyes bulged with pure resentment. He managed to squeeze out one word. "You!" I bet he wanted to finish that with his favorite four-letter word. On the road to the afterlife, Monty poked the back of my head while yelling, "Damn it, I just made it as an entrepreneur, and you killed me. Are you a punishment sent by heaven? Do you have any idea about the $4 million contract we just signed? Do you know how hard these 4 years have been for me?" "I'm sorry, boss. I didn't mean to." I apologized humbly. It seemed the fate of an employee was to always owe the boss, in life and in death. Monty grew tired of yelling and suddenly started crying. He said he had just proposed to his girlfriend, and they were supposed to get married by the end of the year. Such great love. I'm so jealous. I've lived for over 20 years and never been loved like that. I patted Monty's back, trying to comfort him. "Boss, look on the bright side. At least someone truly loved you. That's luckier than most." Monty told me to get lost and went back to his crying and cursing. Eventually, we reached the edge of rebirth. The guardian of rebirth offered us a bowl of soup. She said drinking it would erase all memories of our past lives, allowing us to reincarnate in peace. Monty exploded. He refused to drink it, swearing he wouldn't forget his girlfriend and vowed to find her in his next life. Since he refused, I refused too. I had someone I didn't want to forget either. Before crossing the bridge, I apologized sincerely once more. "Boss, I'm so sorry for this life. I'll make it up to you in the next one, even if I have to work like a horse." Monty sighed and waved his hand. "Forget it, it wasn't on purpose. Just hope you have better luck next time." I grabbed his hand, touched by his words, but he shook me off in horror. "Let's never see each other again." Then, a blinding white light. Suddenly there was noise everywhere, crying babies, busy footsteps. "It's a girl, vital signs are normal," a voice called out. "And here's a boy." Vital signs are normal. My reincarnation was a success. I was a newborn baby girl, cradled in the arms of a gentle nurse. Just then, a blue curtain was pulled back. Another nurse walked out carrying another newborn. The moment we were face to face, our eyes met, and we both froze in shock. Then the baby across from me burst into tears. I thought to myself, "Boss, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen either." My mother was still very weak. She held me in her arms, touching my lips, nose, and eyes with pure adoration. It was clear she loved me, but Monty's mother was different. When she heard she'd had a boy, she burst into tears. She crawled over to my mother's bed and begged, "Can we swap?" I really wanted a girl. My mother immediately cursed her out, telling her to stay away from me because she definitely didn't want a boy either. Turns out, they were best friends and both preferred girls over boys. Monty was being rejected. I glanced at him, forgotten in the corner. Even though I couldn't see his face clearly, I could sense the utter despair in his tiny eyes. And so, my unfortunate boss and I successfully reincarnated with our memories intact. In this life, I was named Joy. My mother hoped I would be healthy and always full of joy. My boss was named Monty. There was no deep meaning to his name. His mother just picked it randomly. Both our mothers were flight attendants. stunning women with fair skin. My mom was Vivian, and Monty's mom was Willow. They had been best friends and colleagues for 5 years. My mom married a pilot from her company, while Willow married her first love. But both their husbands were workaholics and rarely came home. To avoid the anxiety of motherhood alone, they decided to get pregnant together. After 6 months of trying, they both succeeded, getting pregnant less than a month apart. My mom was supposed to give birth first, but Willow went into labor early. They ended up in the delivery room at the same time. Fate really is a mysterious thing. Monty carried the resentment of his past life, while I carried my guilt. We were both reborn into new bodies. Our families were neighbors. Our mothers often brought us over to each other's houses to hang out. They would eat, drink, binge-watch dramas, play games, and swoon over muscular actors on screen. Monty and I were left on the side, staring at each other. It was clear he hated being near me. He would sit in the corner, staring down and fiddling with his hands and feet, completely ignoring me. But eventually, he realized that escape was impossible. Whether he liked it or not, I was going to be an inseparable part of his childhood. He had no choice but to accept it. My mom treated me like a princess, buying me beautiful dresses and dolls, and turning my room into a dreamland. She often took me out for walks in a fancy stroller, bragging to everyone about how smart and cute I was. I became quite famous in our neighborhood. Monty's situation, however, was a bit different. Willow didn't seem to have much patience for raising a son. When Willow took Monty out, they mostly went to the supermarket entrance to let him ride the coin-operated rocking horse. He'd be on that thing for half an hour while she ignored him. It made me dizzy just watching him, but as a baby, there was nothing I could do to help. The most thoughtful gift Willow ever got him was a few Lego sets, and even then, it was my mom who dragged her to the store. Monty was happy for days. It wasn't because they were poor. Actually, his family was very wealthy. His dad was a big boss of a public company. Willow just didn't want to put effort into her son. Sometimes, she treated me better than her own kid. I once tried to share my favorite stroller and dolls with him, but he threw them to the ground in disgust. He even tripped himself in the process, sprawling on the floor and struggling to get back up. It was just like in our past life, when I'd send him slides he hated. He looked like he wanted to smash the keyboard over my head, but could only manage a frustrated, "Get out." Part 3. After our 4th birthdays, we were both sent to kindergarten. Monty finally escaped Willow's control, only to start exploiting me all over again. He tilted his head arrogantly, beckoned me with a finger, and said, "You. Go find Amy for me." Amy was his fiancée from our previous life. I hadn't forgotten my promise to make it up to him in this life. With one word from him, I mobilized all my resources to find Amy. I tried calling her old number disconnected. I searched for her on WhatsApp, no account found. I used every social media platform within my 4-year-old reach, but found nothing. The only option left was to go back to our old city and look for her. But I was only 4. I couldn't go anywhere without a guardian. When I reported my lack of progress, Monty's little face darkened. "Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions," he snapped. So I kept racking my brain for a new way. Suddenly, I remembered there was a police station near our kindergarten. "Boss, what if we ask the police for help?" Monty blinked. "Will that work? Let's just try." "What's the worst that could happen?" Monty looked at me skeptically but stayed silent, which was his way of agreeing. We snuck out during a break and ran to the police station. "Officer, we're looking for someone." "Can you help us?" the officer asked kindly. "Who are you looking for, little one?" "Amy Lynn." "She's his auntie," I said, pointing at Monty. He gave me an annoyed glare. "Officer, we have her contact info and address, but we can't reach her." "Can you help us find her? Where are your parents?" They're busy at home. How about this, you go back to school first." "Tomorrow, I'll talk to your parents to get more details, and then I'll help you look okay. No need for that, officer. This is our own personal mission. You don't need to involve our parents. Listen, I have to talk to the adults. I'll take you back to your kindergarten now. Wait. How did you know we're from a kindergarten? Just as I asked. I noticed the school badge on Monty's chest, and mine too. They were pretty hard to miss. Officer, we've decided not to look anymore. Thank you. I bowed politely and tried to drag Monty away. But the officer stopped us, insisting on taking us back. So, Monty and I had our first ever ride in a police car. Back at school, our teacher was frantic. She had already called our moms, and they were on their way. Our first attempt at outside help failed miserably, and we got a huge scolding. Monty's trust in me plummeted, and he ignored me for 2 whole days. Part 4. Monty didn't really fit in at school. There was a chubby kid named Dexter who kept bullying him and making fun of his name. Monty, who names their kid that? Even a dog would hate that name, I had scolded him many times, but he only got worse. Monty stood by, his little fists clenched, his face turning green with rage. I grabbed his hand. Boss, let me handle this. No need to dirty your hands. With that, I lunged forward and gave Dexter a sharp slap across the face. Dexter burst into tears and ran to the teacher. I got a lecture from the principal, and my parents were called. The teacher tried to force me to apologize. Joy, you were wrong today. You must apologize to Dexter. I stubbornly turned my head away. Not until he apologizes to Monty first. Neither Dexter nor I would budge. The teacher was so angry, she made me stand in the corner as punishment. When my mom and Willow arrived, my mom rushed over to me, worried. She started defending me to the teacher. My Joy is such a good girl. She would never hit anyone without a reason. This boy must have provoked her first. I nodded like a woodpecker and cried. He started it by insulting Monty. As soon as Willow heard that Monty was involved, she didn't even hesitate. She walked right over and slapped the back of Monty's head. Monty, did you cause trouble again? You're making Joy suffer because of you. I quickly waved my hands. No, Dexter started it. Monty is the victim here. Willow finally stopped. Beside her, Monty puffed out his cheeks, looking murderous. He didn't speak to me for another 2 days, but it was fine. I knew he'd be back to normal by the 3rd. Part 5. After kindergarten, Monty and I moved on to elementary school together. All this time, I'd been searching for his past life girlfriend, but she seemed to have vanished into air. Once in elementary school, Monty became a total heartthrob. Girls were constantly confessing to him. He'd dump a stack of love letters on my desk and say coldly, without even looking at me, "Handle this. Tell her to stop bothering me." Got it, boss. I flipped through the pile. The handwriting and envelopes all looked the same. I opened one randomly. Dear Monty, from the first moment I saw you, I fell deeply in love. I love your lips, your eyebrows, your eyes, and the way you smile. Seriously. Even we millennials didn't write like this. I couldn't believe this was coming from Gen Alpha. Should I just reject her? I asked, fishing for gossip. He rolled his eyes. What else? So I picked up a pen. Dear Fiona, thank you for falling in love with me at first sight. And thank you for liking my lips, my eyebrows, my eyes, and my smile. However, I personally handed the letter to her and apologized repeatedly. Fiona was so furious, she threw the letter in the trash and ran off crying. But somehow, that rejection letter was fished out and posted on the school bulletin board. From then on, whenever anyone saw Monty, they'd start chanting, "Thank you for liking my lips, my eyebrows, my eyes." Monty was the laughingstock of the school for a whole week. He was convinced I did it on purpose as some kind of revenge. I was totally framed. Part 6. In 3rd grade, Willow and Arthur suddenly announced they were getting a divorce. Apparently, Arthur had been seeing someone else. Monty leaned against the balcony. looking a bit melancholic as he told me the news. My dad asked me who I want to live with after the divorce. And what did you choose? My dad. He replied bluntly, without a second of hesitation. Didn't you think about staying with Willow? Sure, she's a bit strict, but she's your mom. She definitely doesn't want to be apart from you. She doesn't want me. She said having a kid around would hurt her chances of getting remarried. That was harsh. It caught me completely off guard. Well, she's not wrong, I blurted out, secretly thinking Willow was kind of a legend. Monty rolled his eyes and looked away. Just kidding. Boss, if you're feeling down, you can lean on my shoulder. I patted my shoulder to show him I was serious. Monty gave me a sideways glance, his long lashes failing to hide his utter disgust. Why would I be sad? Maybe staying with my dad will help me find Amy faster. I was speechless. So that was his plan all along, this family. They had some feelings for each other, but not much. If I live with my dad, I'll have to transfer schools, he added after a pause, clearly looking for a reaction. I quickly lowered my head and thought of every sad memory I had just to keep from laughing out loud. Seeing my silence, he leaned in close and asked suspiciously, Joy, you're actually thrilled that I'm leaving, aren't you? How could that be? I promised in our last life to serve you with everything I have in this one. I'm your loyal servant for life, I declared with a straight face. Monty gave me a skeptical look. You better be. On the day Arthur came to pick him up, I walked him downstairs. We were silent the whole way, neither of us knowing what to say. Just before he got in the car, I managed to squeeze out, Boss, will we see each other again? Monty just waved without a word and slowly rolled up the window. Boss, since I won't be in your life anymore. You have to be happy. The car drove away slowly. And I stood there watching until it vanished. And just like that, we were apart. Willow and Arthur's divorce was finalized quickly. Willow kept the house next door. My mom mentioned that Arthur left Willow so much money she could live comfortably for the rest of her life, and probably her next life, too. My mom's voice was dripping with envy. I quickly reminded my mom to snap out of it. Dad is handsome and loyal. He's your greatest treasure. My mom, washing vegetables, pinched my cheek with her wet hand, looking totally smitten. After Monty left, Willow spent the whole day at our house, looking completely lost. That night, my mom stayed up drinking with her. When she got drunk, Willow hugged a photo of Monty and started sobbing, telling my mom about the past. That was the day I realized no mother hates her child without a reason. Willow had discovered Arthur's infidelity while she was still pregnant with Monty. So she hated Arthur, and that hatred bled over into her resentment for her own son. My mom said Willow had stayed by Arthur's side when he was penniless. She endured all the hardships, only to be rewarded with betrayal. All that talk about preferring girls, it was probably just her being deeply disappointed in men. Suddenly, there was one less person in our lives, and it took a while to get used to it. Many times in the morning, I'd habitually shout for Monty to come to school. Only after calling out did I realize he was off enjoying life with his billionaire dad. Fine, I'll admit it. Life without my boss around was actually kind of boring. Part 7. One morning, a week later, a luxury car pulled up in front of the school. It drew everyone's attention and envy. The door opened, and Monty stepped out, dressed in a sharp little suit, looking magnificent. A chauffeur opened the door and handed him his bag. He looked exactly like a little heir from a tycoon family. Following him out of the car was a young, stunning woman dressed in high-end designer brands. At first glance, she looked familiar. At second glance, I was stunned. It was Amy, Monty's fiancée from our past life. I rubbed my eyes to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. It really was her. Money really can buy anything. In just 1 week, he'd found the person we'd spent years searching for without a single lead. And now he was bringing her everywhere. This was some next-level obsession. I was so jealous. Amy gently fixed Monty's hair and bow tie, her movements incredibly tender. Monty seemed a bit awkward, constantly dodging her touch. He must have been shy. Then he turned, saw me, and for the first time ever, he gave me a genuine smile. "Joy!" He called my name and came running towards me. I didn't even have time to ask why he was back. I just pointed at him, then at Amy, stuttering, "You, Amy." My jaw practically hit the floor. His excited expression instantly vanished. You're an idiot, aren't you?" he snapped, turning on his heel and walking into the school. "Monty, wait. Don't forget this." Amy, wearing high heels, jogged over awkwardly. "Here's the lunch I made for you. Make sure you eat it all to grow big and strong. Be a good boy in class, and the chauffeur will be here to pick you up on time." "Auntie, what kind of weird relationship was this?" I was completely confused. "What's going on, boss? You still haven't told me why you're suddenly back." I cornered him during lunch. Monty poked at the fancy meal Amy had prepared, then pushed it toward me. "Here, eat it and shut up." I looked at the delicious lunch, swallowed hard, and chose to stay quiet. I could always ask again after I finished eating. "Boss, seriously, why are you back?" I asked again during PE. He looked utterly exhausted. "I didn't like the other school, so I came back." "Happy now?" he hissed through gritted teeth. "Oh. Are you going to see Willow today?" "No, my dad is sending a driver for me." "Oh, I see." I nodded, silent for 10 seconds. "But seriously, how did you find Amy? Did you put out a missing persons ad? And why do you call her auntie?" My questions came out like rapid-fire bullets. My curiosity was killing me. Then I saw Monty's jaw clenching so hard it looked like his teeth might shatter. I immediately backed down. "Never mind, you're busy. Let's talk later." I bolted from the scene at lightning speed. That night, I told my mom everything. She tried to act uninterested, but her inner gossip won out. "Is that auntie pretty?" "Stunning," I replied instantly. Amy really was beautiful. Back in our past life, she was the university's most popular girl. The line of guys wanting to date her could circle the campus 3 times. And yet, Monty had managed to stand out from all those suitors and win her heart. Because of that, he was roasted on the school forum for months. I remember one post titled, "Unforgivable Wife Stealing." "Watch your back, Monty." It had tens of thousands of angry comments. Every time we went out for drinks, Monty would brag about it. The next morning, my mom insisted on taking me to school. I knew she just wanted to check out Amy for herself. We arrived just in time to see Monty stepping out of his luxury car, followed by his butler and the gorgeous Amy. My mom dragged me over to say hello. "Monty, long time no see, did you miss me?" Monty politely greeted her. But a second later, my mom's gaze locked onto Amy, and her expression turned hostile. "Oh, you must be Monty's stepmother. You're certainly beautiful. No wonder Arthur dumped his pregnant wife for you." My mom's voice was loud, practically screaming for everyone at the school gate to hear. Amy's face turned bright red. She quickly said goodbye to Monty and scrambled into the car. My mom continued to yell and insult her as the car drove off, her sarcasm sharp enough to cut. She was a total social butterfly, but in the most aggressive way possible. I suspect it's some kind of side effect from her days as a flight attendant. A crowd of onlookers stopped to watch and whisper. First thing in the morning, a real-life drama was unfolding. Best friend scolds mistress. Monty and I just stood there, wishing the ground would swallow us whole. But wait, stepmother, how did this happen? His fiancée became his stepmother. Suddenly, I remembered Monty's reaction when I asked him about Amy yesterday. It all made sense now. I said a quick goodbye to my mom and dragged Monty into the school, finding a quiet corner. "Boss, what's going on?" "Stepmother, she's your stepmother." Monty's face was dark. He shook off my hand. "Mind your own business." "Boss, don't keep it all bottled up. I'm here for you," I said, looking concerned. but inside I was screaming. Forbidden stepmother romance, this is way too juicy. Tell me everything. Shut up, Joy. Don't be so heartless. After a long, awkward silence, Monty managed to squeeze out, She married my dad. I felt like I'd accidentally wandered into some trashy soap opera. This was beyond ridiculous. I insisted on finding Amy to demand an explanation for him, but Monty told me to stay out of it. With his long-awaited love story shattered, he spent a long time in a deep, gloomy depression. Every day, I did everything I could to cheer him up, working as hard as I did in our past life just to earn a meager salary. The soul of a worker was practically engraved in my DNA. Part 8. Then came middle school and puberty. We both started to grow up. Monty had a massive growth spurt, standing a whole head taller than other boys his age. He inherited Willow's stunning looks. He was so handsome it made girls jealous. Combine that with his family's wealth, and he became the school's ultimate heartthrob. Of course, I wasn't doing too bad myself. Thanks to my parents' great genes, I grew up to be quite a beauty. I had been popular in elementary school, but in middle school, the love letters started pouring in. Since Monty and I always ate together and walked to school together, everyone knew we had been inseparable since kindergarten. Someone even wrote a fan fiction about us and posted it online. It became a huge hit. Fans were obsessed with our romance and kept trying to set us up in real life. Worried it would bother Monty, I created a fake account online to clarify things. Joy and Monty are just friends. They're too close, almost like siblings. Besides, they both have other people they like. There's no way they'll end up together. A mountain of online shippers were heartbroken and flooded my fake account with tens of thousands of angry comments. Eventually, someone went full-on stalker mode and found out the account belonged to me. My secret was out, and I was instantly humiliated. I was bullied online. Joy is such a poser. She's leading Monty on while pretending to clarify things. She looks so innocent, but she's actually so manipulative. Wow. My goddess is single, I have a chance. How can anyone like such a schemer? Guys really don't use their brains. True, there's no way Monty would fall for a manipulative fake like her. He has better taste. That night, I lay in bed and searched my name. The overwhelming negativity nearly made me depressed. What was worse was that Monty and I were in the same class. I had no idea how I'd face him tomorrow. Just thinking about the awkwardness made me want to crawl into a hole and never come out. So I decided to just hide. I called in sick the next day, telling the teacher I had a fever. Anything to avoid the situation. During the second period, I got a message from Monty. "Where are you?" After a lot of agonizing, I replied, "I'm not feeling well. I'm in my dorm." There was no response for a while. Then, about 10 minutes later, another message popped up. "Come down." I'm downstairs. What was he doing here? Was he here to interrogate me? How would I explain my secret account? I rolled around on my bed in agony, but finally decided I had to go down and face him. As soon as I stepped out of the dorm, I saw Monty. His face was like ice, and his eyes were fixed on me with an intense, resentful stare. It was incredibly intimidating. To make my act more convincing, I clutched my stomach and hunched my shoulders, walking toward him with weak, trembling steps. I didn't dare look up, just whispered, "What's wrong?" Monty stared at me for a long time, then suddenly reached out and touched my forehead. Caught off guard, I flinched. "The teacher said you have a fever." I glanced up at him and nodded guiltily. He paused for a moment, then grabbed my arm and started dragging me away. "What are you doing? Didn't you say you had a fever?" "I'm taking you to get a shot." "A shot? No, no need. I already took medicine. I'm fine now." I tried to shake off his hand and run, but he quickly hooked his arm around my neck, holding me in a headlock. I was more than 20 centimeters shorter than him, and after a sleepless night, I had no strength to resist. I was completely pinned. Boss, are you using this as an excuse for revenge? I struggled against his arm. Exactly. I want to crack your head open and see what on earth you're thinking all day. No need for that, really. Whatever you want to know, I'll tell you. No need for anything bloody. Fine. Then tell me, who is the person I like, and who is the person you like? Boss, that was just a fake rumor I started. I was trying to clear your name. There are so many pretty girls at school who like you. I didn't want to get in the way of your good luck. What good luck are you talking about? He asked, tightening his grip on my neck and gritting his teeth. I just didn't want any misunderstandings, I answered carefully, terrified of hitting a nerve and getting myself sent away. What misunderstandings could there be between us? Are you hiding some secret feelings for me? He went back to his arrogant tone, and I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Don't worry, boss. My feelings for you have always been pure, strictly professional, and a solid friendship. I wouldn't dream of anything more. I raised 2 fingers and swore with a serious face. You better not, he muttered, finally loosening his grip. I scrambled away as fast as I could. Boss, is there anything else you need from your humble servant? I asked with a playful grin. He gave me a disgusted look, but his expression seemed a bit down. He turned and walked away without a word. The next day, he commented on my clarification post. She's telling the truth. The post exploded all over again, and his comment was upvoted to the top within hours. The tide of public opinion finally turned, and I was exonerated. Part 9. We weren't supposed to go to the same high school. Monty's grades were terrible. He got a 30 on his English exam, barely enough for a regular high school. My grades were good enough for the best high school in the city. But money can make the world go round. On the first day of school, Monty looked at me with a smug grin. Joy, you again. You really can't stay away from me, can you? Well, yeah. Not only was it me again, but we were in the same class. After registration, Arthur secretly told me D made a special arrangement with the school. He wanted me to keep a close eye on Monty and make sure he actually studied. At that moment, I realized we were like 2 pieces of sticky tape that just couldn't be peeled apart. This was the definition of an inescapable fate. Everyone was buzzing on the first day of school, meeting classmates, getting new books, making friends. But I encountered someone I had longed for in my past life. During afternoon math class, a man in a sharp suit with an elegant, intellectual air walked into the classroom. He looked to be in his 30s, radiating charm with every movement. The moment he entered, the classroom erupted. No way, he's so handsome. Is he really our math teacher? Oh my God, I'm going to faint. He's devastatingly good-looking. The chatter wouldn't stop. Hello, everyone. I'm Joe, and I'll be your substitute math teacher. When he spoke, the room practically boiled over. I stared at him in a daze, another voice echoing in my ears. Hello, everyone. I'm Joe, and I'll be your advanced calculus professor. It was the voice that had appeared in my dreams countless times. Teacher, do you have a girlfriend? Teacher, will you marry me? Some students started teasing him, causing the whole room to burst into laughter. He made a gesture for everyone to quiet down, then lifted his left hand and showed the ring on his 4th finger. My heart tightened painfully at the sight. The classroom filled with disappointed sighs. I couldn't focus on the lesson as my mind drifted back to a long time ago. Joe, my former college professor, the man I had secretly loved for 6 years. I was a freshman then, and he was my advanced calculus teacher, only 3 years older than me. The first time I saw him, I was just as awestruck as my classmates were today. Back then, he was like the moon in the sky, bright, pure, and admired by everyone. He was completely out of my reach, so I buried my feelings deep within my heart. Later, he was framed for misconduct and punished by the school. His life hit rock bottom. All the love he once received turned into double the amount of hate and insults. During his darkest hours, I was the one who stood by him unconditionally. I worked tirelessly to prove his innocence, and for a short time, our lives intersected. But then, he disappeared, running away from his ruined reputation. I figured he might have gotten married, but a small, naive part of me still held onto a shred of hope. Unrequited love is a one-person play, and I'd been the lead for 6 years. When I died, I thought our story was over. I never imagined we'd meet again like this. Joy, is Joy here? The math teacher leaned over the podium, scanning the room for me. I was still daydreaming when my seatmate nudged me hard. I snapped back to reality and scrambled to my feet. That's me. He looked at me, his long fingers pointing to a problem on the board. Could you answer this one? I hadn't heard a single word of the lesson. I'm sorry, teacher, I didn't understand, I whispered, face flushed with embarrassment. He adjusted his glasses. Fine, I'll explain it one more time. After finishing, he called my name again. Joy, do you understand now? Yes, I do, I nodded guiltily, though my mind was still a mess. Good, then explain it to the rest of the class. I stood there in silence, unable to utter a single word. Teacher, let me do it. A voice broke the tension. It was Monty. He actually stepped up to save me. Luckily, his math skills had always been solid. He clearly and fluently explained the entire problem-solving process to the class. The teacher nodded and told us both to sit down. After class, Monty came over and sat in the seat in front of me, tapping on my desk. Joy, you're acting weird. What? I snapped, in no mood for jokes. Why are you so distracted by an old man? Do you have any manners? I retorted. The first mock exam arrived quickly. Although I had a good foundation, it had been a long time since I'd actually studied these subjects. Despite being the top student in the class, my results were disappointing. My math score was particularly low, so the teacher called me in for a private talk. At the end of the school corridor, I stood before him with my head down, my palms sweating from nerves. Joy, can you tell me what's been going on? His voice was as gentle as ever. I bit my lip, unsure of what to say. After a long silence, I took a deep breath and looked up. The moment our eyes met, I couldn't hold back my emotions. My eyes welled up with tears. Even after everything he had been through, his eyes still held that same boundless kindness, without a trace of bitterness. It was just like the last time I saw him in my previous life. He looked exhausted and defeated, yet he still told me gently, "It's enough that someone knows the truth. Don't speak up for me anymore. You'll only get hurt." Seeing my tears, he looked a bit flustered. Joy, I'm not scolding you. I noticed your math scores used to be excellent, so I wanted to see if there was something wrong with the way I'm teaching. The kinder he was, the worse I felt. Teacher, no. Your lessons are great. It's my own problem, I sobbed. He stood there, looking helpless, a mix of worry and confusion on his face. I've just been having a rough time lately. I'll do my best to pull myself together, I said, trying to steady my voice. He nodded. It's all right. Take your time. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'll do whatever I can to help you. When I walked back into the classroom with red, puffy eyes, Monty was leaning against the balcony outside the door, watching me coldly. I ignored his gaze and went to my seat. Joy, did the math teacher scold you? My seatmate asked with concern. I just shook my head, and she didn't push any further. For a while after that, Joe was extra patient with me, in a professional teacher-student way. He was the same with everyone, always keeping a respectful distance. But Monty, he seemed to be losing it. He started causing trouble in every math class, especially whenever Joe called my name. He would cough loudly on purpose, making the whole class laugh. Kids always think it's cool to mess with teachers. Monty, if you have a problem with me, we can discuss it privately. Please don't disrupt the class, Joe said calmly, trying to handle the situation. Why would I talk to you in private? I don't have any special hobbies, Monty sneered, acting like a total brat. The classroom erupted in laughter again. Joe's face turned a rare shade of red. I'd never seen him so angry. He didn't respond further and just continued with the lesson. But Monty wouldn't stop. He continued to disrupt the class with rude behavior. I tried to ignore him, but he was going way too far. Monty, don't you think you're being a bit much? Do you really think upsetting the teacher is cool? I finally snapped. I stood up and confronted him. How am I being too much? It's just normal conversation. Teacher Joe isn't upset, so why are you? He argued coldly. Why am I upset? It's bad enough you don't want to learn, but you're ruining it for everyone else who does. And as for the rest of you, do you even know what you're doing? Monty can afford to mess around because he has a massive inheritance waiting for him. What do you have? Why are you laughing along? I was so angry I just blurted it out. The whole room went silent. Joe stood at the front, looking stunned. I caught a glimpse of Monty out of the corner of my eye. His face was livid. After that day, he went completely silent and stopped talking to me altogether. I tried to apologize later, but he was incredibly cold. We didn't speak for the rest of the semester. Monty transferred schools. He didn't even say goodbye. How petty of him. When sophomore year started, Joe was no longer our teacher. I had a chance to chat with him briefly before summer vacation that year. He told me he'd gotten married 10 years ago, the second year after I died, and also the second year after I was reborn. I didn't bring up anything about my past life. Suddenly, it didn't seem important anymore. He also mentioned that Monty had apologized to him before transferring. Realizing I hadn't heard from Monty in ages, I pulled out my phone, wondering if I should send him a quick message. I scrolled through his feed, but his last update was still from the first day of freshman year. However, his background photo had changed. It was a picture of two shadows under a street lamp, Monty and a girl, standing close together in an intimate way. It looked like he'd moved on and started a new life. I figured I'd better not disturb him. Years passed. I finished high school and then university on my own. Whenever I went home for the holidays, I'd visit Willow. Even though she wouldn't admit it, she always seemed to be fishing for news about her son. It seemed he hadn't been back to see her either. Part 10. After graduating university, I found a job I really liked, an internship at a well-known media company. One day, a client arrived, and my supervisor told me they had specifically asked for me to handle the meeting. I walked into the conference room and saw a young but very familiar face. He'd changed a bit. The boyish look was gone, replaced by a more mature, refined handsomeness. He asked everyone else to leave the room, leaving just the two of us. "Joy, it's been a long time," Monty said with a smile, though his tone held a certain distance. I greeted him politely. "Hello, Mr. Lee." A subtle shift crossed his face. He looked almost disappointed. "You don't have to be so formal. I prefer to keep things professional at work." "Fine. Then I'll get straight to the point. I want you to handle this project we're collaborating on." I was a bit taken aback. "I'm only an intern. I don't think I'm ready to head a project on my own yet." "What? Are you still mad at me?" He was misinterpreting me. I was being honest about my experience. "Not at all. I've moved on from the past a long time ago. How about lunch today? I'm swamped with work." "Maybe another time." I was genuinely busy. No time like the present." "Today it is," he said, standing up and walking out before I could argue further. Not 10 minutes after I returned to my desk, my supervisor called me into her office, beaming. "Joy, Mr. Lee from Horizon Group just called. He wants to have lunch with you to discuss the details of our cooperation. Do your best and get that contract signed today." "But I have so many other cases to handle," I protested. "Hand them over to Kevin. You just focus on Mr. Lee. Our entire quarterly quota depends on you." Just then, my phone buzzed with a message. "Great China Restaurant. I've booked a table. See you at noon." I grabbed 2 copies of the contract and headed straight to meet him. When I arrived, he was already waiting. A bottle of red wine sat on the table. I didn't know much about wine, but I could tell it was expensive. He handed me the menu, and my eyes widened at the prices listed in dollars. I had no idea what to order. Half a month's internship salary would barely cover a single dish. Even though my parents had always been generous, a restaurant like this was a whole new level of luxury for me. He seemed to notice my hesitation. "Don't worry," he said. "This is one of my family's restaurants. It's on the house." Feeling a bit awkward, I forced myself to pick one of the less expensive items. "Joy, stop being so stiff. It's not like I don't know who you are," he said, trying to put me at ease. "People change. We're not the same people we used to be." I didn't know why I said it, but the words just slipped out. He didn't respond, just stared at the wine in his glass, his eyes deep and unreadable. The meal was long and filled with silence, save for the clinking of cutlery. When we finished, I laid the 2 contracts in front of him. "Mr. Lee, if everything is in order." I look forward to a successful collaboration, without looking up. He pulled a pen from his pocket. He flipped directly to the last page and signed his name with a flourish. After that, we saw each other occasionally for work, but it was never more than a polite greeting. The Horizon project was a huge success, and the client was so satisfied they signed on for another 3 quarters. Thanks to that, I was promoted early and received a generous bonus. For my first New Year's after graduation, I worked until December 30th. I booked a ticket for the early morning of New Year's Eve. I'd called home ahead of time, and my mom said my dad would pick me up. But when I landed, the person waiting for me was Monty. He was wearing a camel-colored coat that made him look even taller and leaner. He stood out in the crowd. I noticed him almost instantly. "Vivian asked me to pick you up." He took my suitcase and handed me a bottle of warm milk. "Are you spending New Year's with Willow this year?" "Yeah. Where's my dad?" My mom said he was supposed to pick me up. He had an emergency task at work and had to head to the office. "Oh," the atmosphere grew a bit awkward. On the way home, we got stuck in a traffic jam due to heavy snow. We were trapped in one spot for over half an hour. "Are you hungry?" he asked suddenly. I actually hadn't eaten breakfast before my early flight, and I'd been too nauseous on the plane to eat. I'd been starving for hours. "A little," I replied. "Then how about I recite some menu items for you?" "What?" "We have filet mignon. Lobster tail, truffles, caviar, roasted duck, sea bass. And prime rib." He started reciting gourmet dishes like a professional waiter. His rhythm perfectly smooth. If I hadn't seen it myself, I never would have believed that the cold, arrogant Monty would ever try so hard to make a girl laugh. When we were kids, I was always the one chasing after him, trying to keep him entertained. "You must have used that trick on a lot of girls," I teased. "Don't talk nonsense. You're the only one I've ever said that to," he said, catching my eye in the rearview mirror. "Oh, I don't believe you. I'm serious. If I'm lying, I'm a dog. What did dogs ever do to deserve being compared to you?" On New Year's Eve, we invited Willow and Monty over for dinner. Willow had been single for years. She always spent the holidays with us, but this year was special because Monty was here too. Willow was beaming with happiness. She'd probably been lonely for far too long. At the dinner table, my mom asked if I was dating anyone. "Mom, I just graduated. Are you already pressuring me?" "I'm not pressuring you, just asking. If you don't want to date or get married, your father and I will take care of you forever." It was enough to bring a tear to my eye. Having such an open-minded mom was a blessing. Willow chimed in, "And me. I have plenty of money to take care of you too." I smiled happily. Then my mom turned to Monty. "Monty, how about you? Do you have a girlfriend?" To my surprise, he shook his head shamelessly. I knew his background photo still showed those 2 shadows, but I didn't call him out in front of everyone. As the TV announcers started the countdown, my mom and Willow, who'd both had a bit to drink, were fast asleep on the sofa. Monty suggested, We go up to the rooftop for the drone show that was supposed to start at midnight. We climbed up, both shivering in the cold. I could tell he was nervous and a bit restless. When I asked what was wrong, he just said he was cold. We counted down together, and when we reached 1, a fleet of drones appeared in the night sky. They moved in perfect synchronization, slowly forming large, glowing letters. Happy New Year, Joy. My jaw dropped and I covered my mouth in shock. Boss, that's my name. I turned to him, only to find him looking down at me with an unexpectedly gentle gaze. He didn't look surprised at all. It was obvious he'd planned the whole thing. Boss, I can't believe you pulled off such a cheesy New Year's surprise. Monty's face darkened instantly. Joy, he looked like he was about to lose his temper again. I'm just kidding. It's actually a really special surprise. Thank you. I quickly tried to fix the mood before it was too late. But it was too late. His mood had already plummeted. He was tapping furiously on his phone, muttering something under his breath. Suddenly, the drones began to shift again, forming a new pattern. I watched with curiosity, but Monty suddenly covered my eyes and started pushing me toward the stairs. Stop looking, it's over. No, it's not, I resisted, pointing at the sky. As we struggled, the drones finished forming the new message. Joy, I love you. What? I stared at the words, speechless. Boss, what does this mean? Seeing his plan exposed, he stopped pretending. He reached back and locked the rooftop door, then slowly approached me with a mischievous smirk. I backed up until I was cornered against the rooftop railing. He leaned down, a playful smile on his lips. It means exactly what it says. So what should we do, Joy? Your boss wants to date you. Be boss, stay calm. I felt my face burning. I tried to push him away, but he caught my hands and held them tight. But, don't you have a girlfriend? He froze. Who told you I had a girlfriend? Your background photo on social media. He burst out laughing. He pulled out his phone and showed me the original, uncropped photo. In the full version, Monty was taking a selfie, and I was in the background looking away. But our shadows were perfectly aligned under the street lamp. It was us. Just then, a message popped up on his phone. Drone proposal planner. Boss, trust me. Girls love this kind of romantic gesture. I guarantee she'll be moved to tears. Monty quickly grabbed the phone and shut off the screen. My first thought was that he desperately needed to download a scam filter app. I couldn't believe a Gen Z guy would use such an old-fashioned method. I've shown you the photo. Any other questions? He asked, suddenly serious. Yes, I replied with equal seriousness. What? The door is locked. Do you have a key? We stared at each other. We tried calling our moms, but no one answered. Finally, we had to post a plea for help in the neighborhood group chat. The security guard said he'd be there in an hour. I was freezing, so Monty took off his coat and draped it over my shoulders, leaving him in just a thin shirt. He was shivering like a leaf. You should wear the coat. I tried to give it back. I'm not cold, he insisted, even as his teeth were practically chattering. I couldn't bear to see him like that, and my guilt was eating at me. I reached out and pulled him into a tight hug, trying to share some warmth. I felt his body stiffen for a second before he wrapped his arms around me. Then he whispered in my ear, his voice low and intimate. So, is that a yes? But, you haven't actually said it yet. Joy, I love you. I love you too.